Hello everyone, my name is Rob, and today I'm going to be taking you through some stretches to loosen up our hips. Now, why are we stretching our hips today? Well, I've been finding that my hips are getting really tight lately from sitting too much. I find I'm sitting more than ever, and this is tightening up all the muscles that surround my pelvis and make up what are the hips. And that includes the hip flexors, the glutes, and the hamstrings. So today I'm going to be taking you through a sequence of some dynamic stretches that will help alleviate some of the tightness that you might be feeling in and around your pelvis, in the hips. All you're gonna need is a yoga mat. So I invite you, if you don't have one out right now, go and grab one. And then when you're ready, we're gonna meet together in a plank position. Start at one end of your mat and fold forward, walk your hands out and arrive in a plank. Now the first series of moves that we're going to be doing are mainly aimed at warming up our body and elevating our core temperature so that we can stretch more safely. From plank, we're going to sit back into what's called a loaded beast. So you're going to sit back towards your heels, hovering the knees above the ground. So it's like a child's pose with your knees hovering. From there, drop your heels, sit the tailbone up towards the ceiling, or pointed up towards the ceiling. Try to drop your head down between your arms and allow a generous bend in your knees to help get the back straight and flat as you arrive in what's called a downward dog. Pedal the heels out to bring some life in your hamstrings. And then from here, roll into a plank position. And next, bring your right foot to the outside of your right hand. This is our first stretch for our hips. It's often called Spider-Man, or in yoga it's referred to as lizard. So we've got our right foot to the outside of our right hand. There's lots of different things we can do from this position, starting with little circles, drawing little circles with that right knee. Kind of self-massaging technique for the hips. So we'll draw a few circles there. And then following that, we can also add some rotation through our spine, what's called the world's greatest stretch. So to do that, let's drop the right elbow to the inside of the right ankle, and then spin to open up towards the ceiling. Let's do this 2 more times. Drop the right elbow to the inside of the right ankle, spin to open to the ceiling. 1 more time, spin to open, and then step your foot back so that you arrive in plank. Let's sit back into that loaded beast, so seat back towards the heels, knees hovering, drop the heels, nice flat back, arrive in downward dog, and then roll your way up into plank and bring your left foot to the outside of the left hand, Spider-Man or lizard on the left side. Start by drawing circles, little circles with that left knee. And then let's do 3 dynamic world's greatest stretch. So start by dropping the left elbow to the inside of the left ankle, rotate up to the ceiling once, drop it again, twice, and 1 more time for a total of 3 times. Okay, let's step that foot back to plank and then gently lower our knees to the mat from a plank position. So now I've got my knees a little bit further back than directly under my hips, so it's not a true tabletop. There's a little angle here. And from this position, we'll transition to our next stretch, a kneeling hip flexor stretch or a low lunge. Start by stepping the left foot or moving it manually if you need to between the hands. And then bring your hands to the top of the thigh to start. Now there's a couple things I want you to think about in this position so that we can get it set up correctly and we can get the position as best as possible, in the best way as possible. So first, think about squeezing your front heel and your back knee together on the mat. So drawing them together. Next, squeeze the right glute to send the right hip forward. And then from there, lift the arms overhead, creating length up the front body. And you should be feeling a stretch sensation in the hip flexor of the right leg. Let's hold this for a few seconds, a static pose. And Now let's make it dynamic and involve the hamstrings. Sit back towards your heel. Straighten the front leg. Point the toes back towards your upper body. Bring the hands to either side of the leg. Round the back over the front leg. Transition back up into the hip flexor stretch. Reach up. Create space. And then sit back, straighten the front leg, hamstring stretch. Come back forward, kneeling hip flexor, and sit back, hamstring. Let's go through one more transition, kneeling hip flexor stretch, and back, stretch for our hamstrings. Okay, next bring the knees together, and we're going to switch sides. So step your right foot up towards the front of the mat where your left foot was previously, between where your hands would be in plank. And we'll set up again so that we get our best kneeling hip flexor stretch. Imagine the front heel gripping in towards the mat, drawing back towards the back knee. Same thing with the back knee. Imagine it gripping in towards the mat, gripping into the mat, drawing towards the front heel. Squeeze the left glute. Lift the arms up into the air. Reach for the ceiling. And after holding for a few seconds, straighten the front leg, sit back towards your heel, point the toes back towards the upper body, round over the front leg. Ooh, that's an intense stretch. Let's work our way out of it, back into a kneeling hip flexor stretch, and then come back down, hamstring stretch. Coming back up again, kneeling hip flexor, coming back down, hamstring. One more time, kneeling hip flexor, and back, the hamstring stretch. Okay, let's arrive with our knees together, and transition next into plank, loaded beast, and downward facing dog. Our final stretch that we're going to demonstrate today, or I'm going to demonstrate, is a pigeon. It's a variation of a pigeon that is called dynamic pigeon, so there's going to be some movement in our pigeon pose. Let's pedal the heels out here in downward dog, and then bring the feet together at the back of the mat. Lift the right leg in the air, and bring the right knee to the back of the right wrist. Sit up tall first. Sit up tall, chest facing forward, eyes looking forward. Now take the hands a little bit wider than the mat, in front of the front knee. And what we're going to do is create a wave-like motion, crashing the chest down towards the knee, and then lifting back up to face forward. So crashing, exhaling on the way down, inhaling to rise back up, and then repeating. Exhale, crash forward, inhale, rise up, exhale, crash forward, inhale, rise up. One more time, exhale and inhale. Okay, plant your hands back on the mat, push back into a downward dog again, pedal the heels. Bring the feet together at the back of the mat one more time. Lift the left leg into the air, left knee to the back of the left wrist. Start by staying up tall. And then bring the hands wider than the mat in front of the knee, and start your wave-like motion, crashing down, crashing the chest towards the knee, exhaling on the way down, inhaling on the way up, exhaling on the way down, inhaling on the way up. Let's go 3 more rounds. 1, 2, and 3. Very good. Okay, let's go back into one final downward dog. Pedal the heels out, check in, see how the hips are feeling. My hamstrings are definitely feeling a little bit looser, a little bit lighter, as well as my hips. When you're ready, walk towards the front of your mat. And then we'll finish with a nice forward fold Bend your knees to allow your stomach to connect with your thighs. Drop the head down towards the knees or the shins. And then when you're ready, brace the core, flatten the back, and slowly rise back up. Let's check in, see how our hips are feeling. Ooh, very nice. So there's a sequence that you can do and apply to your stretch routines. Maybe take a little break throughout your day. If you've been sitting for a while, it's a nice quick 10-minute hip mobility routine that I guarantee if you implement this with regularity, you'll start to find some relief and those hips will start to feel much nicer. Till we meet again, take care. We'll see you next time.